Coming up next, you're going to see me go into details about lots of different materials. I'd like to point out that there's a range, of course, from very inexpensive to very expensive materials, including brushes and paper and paints. I also want to remind you that the most expensive brush in the world is not going to make you a great watercolor painter. It's the effort and time you put into these little studies and exercises that's going to make the difference. That said, you do get what you pay for. So I've put together a list of affordable materials. There are some links below in the description. Also, I've put together a starter kit that's some solid paint, paper, and brushes that I use in this course and that I think will be great for you if you just want to get started without too much hassle. That's in my gift shop at my website, watercolorwithbob.com. Okay, we're ready to get started. Let's talk about our materials a little bit. When I go on a hike and I want to do a little painting with watercolor, I only really need to remember 4 things to take along. I need to take some paper with me, I need a brush, I need some paint, and I need to have some water. Let's start with paper. For this course, we're going to be starting with newsprint. It's the least expensive of all the paper, and it also helps us see the results of putting water onto paper, because newsprint kind of shows how it wicks out that water. I can get a large pad of newsprint. I would encourage you to do this because your first experiments will be on this paper, and you won't be too worried about, oh gosh, I got to be really careful and not wreck it, because it's so inexpensive. So I get a large pad. This is an 18 by 24 inch pad, and I'll be tearing out a sheet of that, and then even cutting this even smaller, just folding it in half, folding it in fourths. You could fold it even in eighths. Use some scissors or tear it. And we're going to be using these sheets then for our first practices. Watercolor paper is a whole nother world. There are some companies that have been in business for hundreds of years, and the papers that they create are beautiful and very expensive. As a student, we're going to want to start with a little bit better option than that. But I do want you to understand that there are really only 2 different processes that go into making watercolor paper. It has to do with the way they press the paper in the manufacturing process. There's one that's called hot press and one that's called cold press. What you'll notice is different is that hot press is smoother. It doesn't have much of a texture to the surface. It's quite smooth. And cold press has a little bit of a bumpy or pebbly texture to the surface of the paper. Watercolor paper companies usually manufacture a traditional sheet, a full sheet of watercolor paper, which is 22 inches by 30 inches. It's a big rectangle, and that creates a large painting. A lot of original watercolor paintings that you might see in a gallery would be full sheet paintings, or a fraction of that, like a half sheet. I take these big sheets and I tear them into smaller pieces for some of my paintings. By the end of this course, I think you'll want to graduate to using good quality paper, but there are more economical ways to get it than using full sheets. You'll find that the same companies provide the watercolor paper in smaller pads. For now, and for all the beginning part of the course, I'm going to encourage you to get an inexpensive watercolor paper once we get past the newsprint lessons. This is made by a company called Canson, and you can see links in the description for where you could find this. It comes in 18 by 24 sheets, and I'm going to start by folding a full sheet in half and tearing this one into smaller pieces for all of our early lessons. So that's all we really need to know right now about paper, but let's take a look at our paint situation. Back in school, when we were little kids, we used to use what we call pan paints, or watercolors that are hard and dry. And when you get your brush wet and start to rub on that little dry spot, it puts color into your brush. Now we're going to graduate to watercolor that comes in a tube. We squirt it out, and we need to squirt out just a small quantity in order to make a lot of paint. So I'll be showing you how to do that on a palette. I think the easiest way to get started is using just an old white dish that you got from the thrift store. Later, you're going to want to have a way of squirting your paint into an area that you can keep it safe overnight and for weeks to come. So you'll want to get some sort of a palette. And you can buy less expensive ones that are made out of plastic, or like mine that's made out of metal. that I can take on a hike and I never have to worry about falling off a cliff and wrecking it. In this palette, there's little sections where you squirt your paint, and then you can leave it overnight. Some of them have a lid, or sometimes you can put a piece of clear wrap plastic over the top of it. With watercolor paint, like everything, you get what you pay for, but don't feel like you need to spend a whole lot of money. Check the video description for some resources to get you started with a good beginning set. There are a million brushes out there, but don't get overwhelmed. You really only need 4 to get started. A flat 1-inch brush, a flat 1/2-inch brush, a round number 10 or 12, and a rigger. So different brushes make different strokes, and I think these 4 give us enough versatility that this is all we need to start with. Let's take a look at the 1-inch flat. The great thing about this brush is it holds a lot of water and a lot of pigment. It makes a big stroke, it gets a lot of work done quickly, and it's really a wonderful, versatile tool. The reason I've included a 1/2-inch flat brush as well as the 1-inch is because you have a little bit finer control. You can do a little bit more detail, and it seems that a flat 1/2-inch brush can really draw a very clean, even line when you move it horizontally with all the bristles lined up. It's good to have a round brush as part of our collection of tools. The shape of the bristles gives you a lot more flexibility in the shape that you make on the paper. It comes to a point. That gives you a lot of control, almost like pencil-like control. When you press down on it and put a little bit of pressure into those bristles, you create a type of leaf shape or almost a teardrop. And that gives you a lot of flexibility in what kind of marks you can make. Finally, I've included a rigger. It's mainly because, in a way, this is a line maker. It's a liner brush. But also, there's some spring in these bristles. And that gives you a little bit of flair. It gives you a little spring in your strokes. It gives you a little bit of opportunity for flashes of brilliance. In general, watercolor brushes have soft bristles that hold a lot of pigment and a lot of water. So unlike the synthetic bristles of an acrylic brush or an oil painting brush, watercolor brushes, it really does make a difference what those bristles are made out of. So sure, you can get a $100 squirrel hair watercolor brush, and that would be wonderful, and it might be something to look forward to as you get better and better at watercolor. But for right now, I've selected some very affordable brushes that you can find on the website, watercolorwithbob.com, in our starter set. And I've compiled a list with links in the description for lots of other affordable options. Don't worry, we're going to practice with each one of these brushes by themselves and in their turn when we work on basic strokes in the next lessons. Throughout the course, you'll also see me using a variety of other tools and supplies. Sometimes I will be speeding up the drawing process using a heat gun or a hair dryer. I'll sometimes be using some salt to create texture. I use a misting bottle, a small bottle that puts out a fine spray of water mist, just filled with clean water. It's an important tool in creating texture. To add to our brush supply, we need to throw in a toothbrush, which will create some really interesting effects for us. And also, you'll see me using a fan in some of the lessons. It's not a brush that you have to have right away, but it really is a great brush to add some interesting strokes to your work later. I use sponges, pieces of kitchen sponges that I have cut up, or some natural sponges that you can get at the art supply store for creating texture on the paper. And I also save my old credit cards or my membership cards so that I can use it as a scraping, like a little squeegee on the paper. You'll see me doing that in some of the videos as well. In the beginning of our course, when we start our basic strokes, I use masking tape to keep my paper from moving around on my board. Later on, in further experiments, we'll be using some supplies that help us use mixed media and put collage elements into our work. But you know, for now, let's just keep it as simple as we can and start setting up our workspace. I like to start by spreading some old towels across my work surface. This works no matter how big or how small your workspace is. Even if you just have a card table, if you start by covering it with some old towels that are so easy to throw into the laundry and refresh your whole workspace, that's all you really need. The great thing about having these towels on your surface is that now you can simply touch your brush onto the tabletop and it'll wick out some extra water. If you have an accident and spill your water bucket, it's no big deal. And it seems to just sort of cushion your whole process. Now I like to set out my board that has my paper on it. To start with, all these lessons can just be done on a small piece of plywood or maybe an old cutting board that you tape your paper to with some masking tape. What you see me doing here is using a piece of MDF that I have stretched my paper on. I have a whole video about that to explain that process, but you don't really need to start with that for these early lessons. Next to my board, I put a smaller towel that I have laid out all of my brushes on. These are the tools that I'm going to use to tackle my painting. Sometimes I just need a few brushes. Other times, with a more complicated project that I'm going to work on, I know that I'm going to be needing credit cards or my mister or ruling pens or sponges. And I make sure that I have all those things laid out before I find myself in the middle of an emergency with my painting. This sort of reminds me of going to the dentist and noticing that they lay out all their tools before they get started. And it's sort of the same thing here. I want to be sure that I'm ready for whatever happens when the paint starts flowing. Next, I lay out my palette. I like to put it right next to my painting and make sure that I have some mixing areas that I've cleaned up so that they're ready for my new spectrum of colors. Next, I put out some water buckets. I've finally come to really appreciate having 3 larger buckets. These are 2-quart-sized buckets from the hardware store, and I have them halfway full of water. I keep one of those buckets for my dirtiest water, one kind of medium, and then one I try to preserve as real clean water. In the midst of a painting, having some real clean water handy right next to you sometimes saves the painting. You can also see on here that I've gotten my paper towels ready, some rags, some tape, anything that I think I might need as I'm working on this painting. If that seems like a lot, don't worry. We're going to start with the real basics. We've got all the basic 4 things we need. We've got paper, we've got water, we've got a brush, and we've got some paint. We're ready to put some paint onto the paper. I'll see you in the next lesson where we talk about some basic strokes. Hi, I'm Bob. Thanks for watching this video. I hope you'll go by my website at watercolorwithbob.com. That's where you'll find an interactive outline of the whole course. You can also share your work with me and your fellow students. One thing I really love about watercolor is how accessible it is. That's why I realized it was important to me to put this course out for free. That said, it would mean the world to me if you would support this work. You can like it, you could share it with your friends, you could subscribe to the channel, you could also visit the gift shop or even make a donation. Thanks so much. See you on the next lesson, and happy painting. I really believe that someday I will create a masterpiece.